Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video. Today we get a chance to see a little more about the Cybertunnel here at Giga Texas, and that's thanks to Steve Jurvetson, who just recently toured Giga Texas and also the Bastrop facility. And with this image shows you what the new challenge coin is that Giga Texas has for the Cybertunnel with the Cybertruck coming out of it. Now, just as a refresher, this is what they are doing right now, putting in this superstructure over the tunnel. And thanks to Steve, this is what it looks like from the ground. Eventually, this will be completed and look like a Cybertruck. And this is where the Cybertrucks will exit the factory for the first time after coming through the tunnel underneath the highway and to this point. Now, I know you want to know what it looks like inside the tunnel. So again, thanks to Steve, this is what it looks like right now. And you can tell that it's been painted on the inside and has the road markings as well. Not only that, but they have this placard. It shows that the length of the tunnel is 1,348 feet or about 410 meters long. And of course, this image here with this video shows you the exit point. And from here, they'll proceed to the end of line facility. On the other side of the tunnel, this is where they enter. And again, thanks to Steve, we get a good chance to see what that looks like. And of course, what the overall tunnel looks like here when the Cybertrucks will exit. And as I mentioned, he did go over to the Boring Company site as well and visited, if you follow the arrow here down to where I'm showing you that new tunnel segment on display, with the two gentlemen standing in it, gives you a great idea of the scale of that tunnel segment. In addition to that, if you follow the arrow over to the test tunnel, this is where they are testing the Hyperloop system, and they can do a vacuum within the tunnel. This is what it looks like from the ground level with that vacuum sealed door open. Now, they got a chance to drive through that test tunnel. This looks very similar to what we would see over at Giga Texas. Of course, it doesn't have the lane markings, but everything else is pretty similar. Now, this tunnel is used for testing, and they test not only some of the Hyperloop components, but also some of the materials that would be used to make the tunnel. And I did get a chance to go through this tunnel myself earlier this year when I got a tour of the Boring Company, and I did do a video series on that as well. Now, on the other side, this is what it would look like as the Cybertruck's exiting. That door is the other side to close it off for vacuum. And if you see the Starlink facility with the arrow coming in, this is where that is located. I hope you enjoyed those views of the two tunnels, the Cybertunnel here at Giga Texas and also over at the Bastrop site for the Boring Company. Gives you a really good idea of what is inside here, and hopefully we'll get some more views of the Cybertunnel here at Giga Texas in the near future, as it is supposed to be operational sometime next week. So anyway, without further ado, let's get in the drone and see what Giga Texas looks like on this Friday the 13th. If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. It was a great day to fly here at Giga Texas despite the low clouds, and later on, after I finished flying, it did start raining, but for right now, I think we have some great lighting and great conditions to fly. We're starting off on the far west side over the end of line facility and the outbound lot on the right-hand side of the screen, and also some of the development area to the north of those facilities, including that material staging yard with those two large tents. I wanted to stop over here today, not only to get a nice view of Giga Texas, the main factory, but also to take a look at the equipment that's being stored here on the west side, especially where the Evapco fan units and the base units are on the right-hand side of the screen. Also see some more of the steel on the ground being stored here temporarily until it is used inside the factory. But just taking a look at these fan units, also some of the other support items and materials on the ground. Not a lot of change has taken place here over the last several weeks. So I'll just continue to monitor this, and hopefully one of these days we will see where this is installed. I'm going to fly over the road that runs from the Tesla Road on the north all the way to River Road on the south, and take a look at this material staging yard a little more closely. See that green matting on the berm for erosion control, and just some of the materials here by the tents. Also, I decided that since I was at this vantage point and also low over the ground, I would zoom in and give you a view into the north side of the end-of-line facility, where you can see how the Model Ys are entering and some of the processing inside just before they close the door. On the right-hand side of the screen is that cafeteria for the workers, and it looks like it's pretty much fully operational now as well. But a great group of the Model Ys processing. Since it is a Friday, this is somewhat unusual, so it shows that we are definitely seeing production Monday through Friday now at Giga Texas, where it used to be Monday through Thursday. So I don't know if it's the end of the year push or if it's just a permanent change to the schedule. But anyway, great view of all of the activity on this north end of the end of line. Also, a lot of vehicles arriving next to that test track, and many more are being stored, including all the Cybertrucks on this north side. So I'm going to fly over the outbound lot to the material staging yard here, because there are some developments that I want to show as well. Now, a lot of this material has been here for a while. Some of it's been changing out, but much of it is the spools of cable, and also all of these transformers in the middle of the screen with their associated cabling as well. And still waiting for these to be installed around the site. I think that's going to be related to what we're seeing at the south end of the electrical switchyard, but we'll talk about that later in the video. But as we fly over this part of the site and get to this fenced off section, this is where a lot of the production equipment has been delivered, is being temporarily stored, and is slowly being maneuvered for installation inside the factory. Now today on one of these trucks, we see another large piece of equipment wrapped in this kind of silver wrapping. And with this zoom in, this gives you a good view of that activity and how they unload the truck, but also some more of the new materials on the ground in that kind of blue and silver and plastic material as well. So they continue to bring in a lot of equipment here, stockpile it, and are getting ready for a big installation inside the factory in early 2025. And we'll probably see that for the first 2 quarters of the year as that installation continues. As I get higher in altitude and pull away, this is a nice view across this material staging and the West Warehouse on Wheels lot, the outbound lot, the end of line, and of course the main factory. A lot of that steam coming up off of the roof because of the conditions that are present here today. So it kind of gives it a very industrial kind of look. As I bring the drone back down on this material staging yard, we see that almost all of the steel items have been used. There's just a few left on the ground here. Of course, in the middle of the screen, more of those transformers. And again, those are related to either battery storage or solar panels. So I'm still waiting to find out exactly where those are going to be installed. Of course, more of the concrete vaults, manhole covers, and steel corrugated pipe on the right-hand side of the screen, with some additional steel items in the middle of the screen near that dirt pile that's being worked on. I brought the drone back up to cross back over these power lines because I want to show you some of the work that's going on near that south bridge. And what we're seeing is the continued construction of a southward branch of the roadway that leads from the boring tunnel down to River Road. You can see that intersection on the right-hand side of the screen getting prepared. We also see the area with the geotextile membranes that were added, and the gravel has now got a fence around it. They're starting to store some equipment, and this is a great view from this vantage point looking to the north. Now we do see some additional work that's going on underneath the bridge, most likely because of the roadway that's going to go through there. But also very interesting is this large yellow crane that is being installed and assembled right now. See some of the various parts of the boom on the ground. They're assembling it right now. This means that there's going to be some sort of heavy construction on this side of the site. And I'm very looking forward to figure out what exactly that is going to be. As we follow the road to the north up to the boring tunnel itself, I'm going to maneuver the drone with a great view back towards the main factory so you get a great context of where this is located. And then I'm going to zoom in and show you some of the activity that's underway. Now, first of all, at this altitude, looking into the tunnel, we can see the lane markers as they kind of make that lane of the road and how the interior looks. Of course, in the intro, I gave you some images of the inside as well. Today, the big news is the installation of some of the stainless steel panels on that superstructure that's kind of Cybertruck inspired. And this answers that question of what kind of covering and would it be stainless steel? And the answer is yes. And I think once this is all said and done, it's going to have quite the resemblance to a Cybertruck. And this is what it looks like at the early stages of installing those panels. Of course, all of the main steel work is completed, and it's mostly just going to be the covering. Also, I do believe that we're going to see some sort of electrical system with lighting in that section. And then, of course, the small excavation at the bottom of the screen with those 8 piles. Some people think that that may be a large sign. You never know, it could be a sign that says Tesla or Cybertunnel or something else. So that's something to watch for. And of course, the small enclosure is that electrical room that is being prepared for all the electrical facilities that are going to be around this tunnel. So sometime at the end of next week, that tunnel should be operational. Now, another big thing that I want to show you is here at the superchargers, you'll note that there are these white poles that are sticking up out of the ground, and that auger is busy drilling for more of them. What all of this is for the canopy that we've been talking about for quite some time. The piles have already been installed in those locations, and now they are putting in the poles. Once this is all completed, this entire structure will have that canopy cover. And I know a lot of people have asked, is it going to be solar panel covered? Not really sure about that, but I think that we will find out here very soon. So I'm going to get ready to cross over the highway. We'll resume the narration on the other side. I'm going to stop here and take a look at this construction site with all of the formwork that is underway. Of course, that large former receiving door that used to have a large ramp there, all of this has been reconfigured. Now we see this structure. The rebar is coming up, and this is what it looks like. Now, some people in the comments still think that this is an accessibility ramp for people. Although that may be true, it just looks a lot more substantial than that to me, and a lot more vertical than you would expect. So I'll continue to watch that, and if you have any other ideas, please let me know. And I'm going to fly to the south along the west side of the factory, heading back towards the flagpoles, and also on the left-hand side of the screen where we see Model Ys exiting the factory through that ramp and that opening. And then, of course, next to it is these 3 new receiving doors with the load levelers and concrete. We can see inside, and of course, more of the Model Ys coming out of that facility. And again, this is an indication that production is underway today on a Friday, which is a relatively recent change. As I continue to fly to the south, over this section here on the left, we'll see some of the equipment that's been kind of unpacked. The old packaging is on the ground, and they continue to be bringing in items to this part of the factory as they recondition or reconfigure what's going on inside. Next to this large platform, the truck on the ground I saw bringing in a lot of rebar, so there is additional concrete work going on inside that section. And then, of course, here where we see the excavation work and some of the concrete pipe segments, as I zoom in, we can tell that it looks like there's some sort of a drainage being installed in front of the 2 columns. Inside, we see some of the railings that have been installed around the roadway, and just some additional preparation of this section to complete it. and then get the paving on, and then that will be operational. We can also see some more work on the ground here for that part of the site. Another thing that I did notice is many more crates of glass have been delivered. See some of the crews working on one of those right now. And we see that lifting jig on the ground, that yellow as well. On the other side of the factory, we'll see that they're setting up a crane. So they're getting ready to start installing all of this glass. While I was here, I thought I would bring the drone down, zoom in, and show you what's going on inside this part of the factory. In the center of the screen, we see that X Energy box. This is one of several that we saw being stored on the west side. This is part of a data center cooling system. It looks like it is now being installed inside this part of the factory, which is great to know where those eventually went. Now on the south side here, we see earthwork and preparation around that curbed section that was added for the paving for the road. This is on the top layer of the 3 levels here. The middle level is the emergency exit tunnels, and we can see formwork to extend that concrete walk path all the way over to the edge now. And I'm going to pull away, give you a good overall view of the south end of the factory and the cyber pond, and a nice reflection as well. But also I wanted to show you some work that is going on here by the berm coming up from the bottom of the screen. And what you can tell is that there's a silt fence. They have geotextile membranes, and they're putting gravel around this entire section. And it extends over to the south bridge. And that also connects over to that other section that had the gravel with the crane being installed earlier today. As I bring the drone back down, we see that fork in the road statue. Of course, the cyber pond again, and I like the reflection of the factory in the pond, and a nice overall view of this south end with the 3 levels of the terracing and how those tunnels and the walkway is materializing. As I come around the light pole, I did notice that they've extended the yellow fencing out, and they have the crane with a lot of the counterweights being delivered right now. And I believe this is going to be used for the glass installation. And they're just preparing all of this now so that they can extend the glass along this part of the factory. All of the black railing have now been installed for this section, so it is definitely ready for the glass. And this is a great look at all of that work underway today. Another big change is on the ground floor of the cooling plant. They've enclosed the entire section on that ground level in plastic wrap, and this is a great view of what that looks like. I am not exactly sure why they chose to do this now. I don't know if it's because of environmental, like for example, colder weather coming or rainy weather, or if this is some work that they're doing inside that specifically needs that to be covered over, but it is definitely an interesting change. And if you happen to know or you have some ideas, please let me know in the comment section. I bring the drone back down over these areas on the ground where the natural gas pipeline was installed, and I'll zoom in. This is another view of that chiller plant with the plastic wrap that extends all the way around and encloses that entire ground floor. And again, this is just a nice view of what that appears like, and also the wall panels that have been installed in this section, and where all the glass is going to be installed here very soon. As I pivot and turn towards the multi-level parking garage, it's just a nice view overall of this part of the site. And on the ground on the side of River Road Extension is some of the workshops and equipment for the glass company. As I fly in towards the multi-level parking garage, this is a nice view of what it appears like today. The privacy fence on the right is where they are continuing to do testing of new products, and also the Cybercab inside this part of the garage. Now, speaking of the Cybercab, I did notice that there is one here getting test driven on the ground. and it continues to drive off to the south. In a separate video, I will show you more because I got so much video coverage now of the Cybercab, especially today driving, that it warrants its own video. So we'll see a little bit more later at the end of the video, but I just want to give you a heads up on that. As we get closer to this part of the factory next to the casting machine structure, all the castings on the ground and in the rack mounts, and as I zoom in, the baghouse filtration plant, and how this all appears today. A lot more work going on in the inside of that, assembling more of the equipment. Now, the big news is here where we have this covered section over the receiving doors and part of the furnace section of the casting machine structure. On the ground, you see the workers assembling this structure. Part of it is assembled on the left-hand side of the screen. More of the items are in the center of the screen. Then you see that sliding kind of platform in the gray and red. They also are assembling some of this equipment into or onto that sliding platform. This is part of the charging system or the feeding system for the furnace itself, and it slides back and forth, and just inside that part of the factory is the furnace. And this is also where they added that steel blast wall just to the right of that sliding device. You can see that in the middle part of the screen. And as I continue to pan around, this is just a nice overall view of how this entire section continues to transform. Of course, more of the castings on the ground. I think that those are for recycling just because of the way they are stacked. So I'm going to bring the drone up and fly back around and show you some of the work that's going on with the electrical cabling that is being installed here on this part of the factory. Also on the ground, you can see that there are open vaults where the cabling is kind of protruding out. And all of this is to connect together with the cabling that you see on the roof section here and going on these rack mounts all the way down the parapet wall to the Cortex supercomputer cluster. And it looks like this is getting close to the final stages of connecting and assembling, which is great news for that Cortex supercomputer cluster. This enclosure with the doors is nearing its completion. We still see the safety fences around it, so it shows that there is still construction underway. But this is one of the ways that they have for main access to the roof and has been added very recently. A nice view of what that appears like today. As we come back towards the baghouse filtration plant, it's a nice look down at the two tanks, the filtration units, some of the ductwork, and that superstructure with the kind of the exhaust port, and some of the work going on for more assembly on that structure. And as I continue to bring the drone down, this is just another look at that equipment that is stacked up here that's being assembled as part of that sliding furnace feeding device that we talked about. At this altitude, I turn back around, I'll show you a closer look at those vaults, the cables that are kind of coming through the conduit, and how this looks today. And we also see more castings exiting out of the casting machine structure onto this side of the building. As we continue to fly along the north end of the paint shop on the left, we see some of the rack mounts for the bodies and also some of the stands that they use to paint the bumpers next to that smaller platform. And of course, here at the 4680, we do see some more equipment being delivered, some in the truck on the left, some near the open door. And then earlier, I saw some large red items being unloaded from a accordion truck and lifted up onto the platform where the crane is. So they continue to bring in equipment and build out that production capability here. Last thing I'll show you on this part of the site is the material and casting, sorting, and managing lot is about 2/3 of the way empty now. So it's a big change over the last week with the number of castings. As we fly up over the power lines and come up to the south end of the Megapack site, this is where the Megapacks will be installed at this large rectangular section. And then around the perimeter, we see trenching and the underground storm water management pipe being installed. And of course, this will connect into some of the existing pipes and help move that water, especially after heavy rains, out of this area and through that system down to the Colorado River. The electrical switchyard shows a lot more of the progress here with the installation. of the third transformer. Also, that new A-frame has been completed. And we'll get a closer look here shortly. More of the items on the ground here by the north fence for the A-frames are stored. And we'll see one more of those installed in the middle part of the site. And then after that, there should be 9 total A-frames and the associated vertical steel items all installed. And then each of the 3 bays will look very similar when they are completed. So I'll bring the drone down and fly back towards the Switchyard so you can get a closer view of what I'm talking about. And again, how it will appear. In the middle of the screen, we see the footings waiting for that new A-frame and the vertical steel. We do notice that the A-frame on this side is much more of the substantial version rather than the smaller ones that you see on the other 2 bays. This is a nice view of that work that's going on to finish the A-frame installation. Also, the third transformer is getting a lot more of the equipment installed. And we see on both sides now 4 of those large items with the fan units installed, and more of the packaging is being unpacked. We also see crews at this underground vault going in and doing some work. And it also looks like the crane is set up to pull those panels off that covering. And I think we're going to see a third trailer here very soon. A nice zoomed in view of the Megapack site. I'll zoom back out and fly over so you can get a better look at what this is appearing like. And if you compare this cleared section to the Megapack on the upper right, it gives you a kind of an idea that we're going to see one of similar size and scope once this is completed. And as I get closer to the south end, I'll just give you a better view of the stormwater pipe that is being installed right now. They cover it up with gravel to help it prevent it from floating in the trench as rain and water permeates into the ground. So I'm going to bring the drone up and we'll reposition over towards the battery cathode and die shop today. Thought I would stop here briefly and just show you that they are spraying this kind of grass seed mix on the berms around the water detention pond, and that is for erosion control. In addition to that, over this section by the 4-way intersection, I did notice that there is earthwork underway here, taking some of the dirt and moving it to other parts of the site as construction continues. Now, I know that there is construction inside the die shop, but the doors are shut. I don't see much of the activity today, so not much to see. So instead, I'll come around to the north end and show you the external furnace on the right and some of the materials that continue to be stockpiled here and used inside as they build out more of the capabilities. Also, a great view of the chiller plant for the cathode facility. I'll zoom in. I don't see any of the frost on the vaporizers today, but a nice close-in view of most of the equipment, the pipes, the pumps, heat exchangers, and other systems that they have here at the site. Also, a look at those 2 large white pipes, some of the asphalt, and that fire hydrant with the bollards that they've recently added on. And I'll pivot over and take a look at this material staging yard where we see continued some of the equipment that is being installed inside the cathode plant, primarily to help build that cathode material and give them a chance to reduce, if not eliminate, the cobalt that is in that mix. And I know that's a kind of a big item that Tesla is working on, and hopefully they'll be able to get that with this equipment resolved. Bring the drone up and show you this northeast section of the site very briefly. Again, the concrete that's waiting for recycling, some of the equipment that's waiting for installation, that red and white bridge crane, which is still just waiting here for its turn to be installed at some point. Of course, that large steel tubular structure that is waiting for its time as well. Now, as I fly along the east side of the battery cathode plant and over the cell test lab, I did notice a few things of interest for activity, particularly at the crash test facility. So as we take a look here, and fly up closer to the north end of that facility. I did notice that the rotisserie was on its side. It has a Cybertruck, and there are two workers that had cameras, and they were doing some photography of the underside of this crash-tested Cybertruck. And this is what it looks like. And you can wave at the guys. They notice the drone, and they're saying hello. So anyway, it's great to see that there's continued work here at the crash test facility, and it seems like the work here is never completed. As I turn back around, I will notice that there is a Cybercab being followed by a Cybertruck and that Model 3. So I thought to end the video, I'll do a quick Cybercab following flight and show you what it looks like as they continue to do the testing all over Giga Texas. And it includes this part of the site as its route that they are using to test the system, to do training, to revise how it works, and then of course with that Model 3 collecting additional data so they can feed into the Cortex supercomputer, which is operational to help provide the data for this Cybercab. Of course, this is where it stops as one of its places to simulate a passenger pickup or drop-off. So that'll be the end of the video for today. A very eventful Friday the 13th. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. I hope you have a great weekend. Take care.